I've always heard a ringing when I do something for the last time. Since a very young age, I've occasionally heard this ringing sort of sound in my head. It's a bit like a church bell, so not quite as loud or penetrating a sound. Best way I can describe it is a faint, almost hum-like ding in my head. Honestly, a lot like something you'd hear in an old-school Zelda game, strange as that sounds. After some time, I deciphered that I would hear this noise in the event that I was doing something for the last time. Seeing something unique, saying something unique, watching a terrible movie and knowing I'd never watch it again. If I made up a silly word like hada yada poo poo pee pee, sure enough I would hear ding, knowing I'd never say that exact word again. At first, it was quite annoying. Ding. I would hear as I visited a new place, as I'd never see any of those strangers again. Fortunately, with some practice and effort, I was able to drown out these rings in favor of those that tend to be louder, denoting a more impactful last time. As I grew up, though, I began to hate this curse, and quickly fell into a depression. Saying goodbye to my friends at graduation, only to be inundated again with knowing we'd all go our separate ways and never speak again. I'll never forget the I heard as I said goodbye to my father for the last time, seconds before he peacefully passed away. Not to mention the many first dates I've been on, hearing as we finished up the night. It's been years though. With the help of my beautiful wife and daughter, I've managed to turn the ringing into something positive. I decided to quit my drinking habit, and after many harsh months, I finally heard that as I took my last shot of whiskey. I recently had a Big Mac, only to hear it as I put it down, and I've since dropped several pounds. My wife is my biggest support, and thus far the only person I've trusted with this secret. My wife and little girl are leaving to spend some much-needed quality time together soon. I love you, I tell them as they're headed out the door.
When I was a kid, my parents would always drag me to a certain beach resort during the summer. It was a place that started with a K hidden in the many islands of the Philippines. To be honest, I never really bothered remembering it, since I swore I would never set foot on that beach again. It was when I just turned 13 when I first got to see it. The hotel we were staying at had a perfect view of the beach and the wide sea stretching across of what it seemed to be the whole world. During the day, the sand was white and the water was clear and green. At night, the white sand would turn blue and the water almost black. But during this stay, the moon was shining brightly above the water. It was past midnight and my parents were already sound asleep. While I was busy playing with my Game Boy, frustrated from losing repeatedly, I decided to take a break and stare at the moon for a while. That's when I saw a silhouette of a man splashing around in the middle of the sea. His arms raised up and his head shaking around as he goes up and down from the dark waters. "That man is drowning!" I shouted, waking up my parents. They got up and saw nothing, but still went downstairs and alerted the hotel manager to have it investigated. While talking to the manager, an old lady housekeeper crouched beside me. "Ignore the drowning man," she said in a whispering and shaking voice. I was confused, obviously, but for some reason I felt the seriousness in her tone, and her intent based on fear. The next night I saw him again. I simply shrugged it off, but for some reason felt a chill down my spine, seeing him again for the second time. I continued back to sleep and hoped he would just go away. The last night of our stay, my parents decided to get a few things down inside our parked car in front of the hotel. I helped my dad carry a few bags and head outside where the cold breeze greeted us enthusiastically. I went towards the car, but stopped as he caught my eye again. the drowning man, but this time he was much closer to shore. "Dad, it's him!" My dad dropped the bags he was carrying as he saw the drowning man. "Wait here, I'll call for help," my dad told me. Shortly after my dad left, I realized that looking for help would not be necessary. I froze in terror. The man raised from the sea, his back revealing a long stem attached to something just beneath him, just like a puppet. He slowly submerged and disappeared back into the waters, followed by a scaly serpentine body that glistened under the moonlight. On the next years we visited, I always ignored the drowning man.
The Man in the Closet. Like many kids, my Katie's afraid of thunderstorms. I get it, I was the same way when I was her age, but the difference is that I'd always power through it. Katie needs a bedtime story during storms, or she'll stay awake until the weather dies down. When she knocked on my bedroom door last night, I assumed that's what Katie wanted. Without even opening my eyes, I said, "Yes, Chicken Little, I can hear that the sky is falling. That's why we have a roof over our heads." She tiptoed to my bed, not wanting to wake her mother up. "I can't go back to bed, Daddy." I sighed and sat up. "Do you need me to read you a story, Katie?" "No, Dad, it's not safe." I wipe the sleep from my eyes. "Why, the lightning?" "There's a man in my closet." For both her safety and peace of mind, I walked over to Katie's room and started looking around. She stood in the doorway as I slowly approached the closet. "What'd you see in there, Katie?" "I didn't see anything. I heard him." "What did you hear?" "Whispering." She wasn't lying, but I chalked it up to an overactive imagination. Still, I knew she wouldn't take a step in her room if I didn't make sure her closet was empty. I reached for the handle of the closet. "Dad, be careful!" "I am, honey," I told her. Slowly, as my own imagination began to run wild, I grabbed the handle and pulled the closet door open. And nothing was there, just Katie's clothes and some boxes of old toys. "All clear, Katie, it's safe." I turned to her, but she didn't seem convinced. "He's in there somewhere. You have to find him," she pleaded. Annoyed, I took a closer look. I started pushing the clothes around to show that it was empty, and one of her winter jackets fell off its hanger. For a brief moment, the jacket stopped in midair, then slid to the ground. I couldn't understand what I'd just seen. As I kneeled to take a closer look, something pushed me. I fell against Katie's bed and got to my feet as Katie ran out of the way of nothing. "What the?" I got to my feet and chased the sound of running footsteps down the hall. By the time I reached the living room, the front door's deadbolt was unlocked. The knob turned on its own and the door flung open. I ran to the doorway and looked down. In the darkness of the night, the heavy raindrops were hitting nothingness. The form of a man was standing in the rain, solid but unseen, clearly watching me. The figure turned away and ran off into the night, an invisible man retreating into the dark. While waiting for the cops, I returned to Katie's room and looked in the closet. He'd left a few things behind, tucked between the boxes and the wall. Zip ties, duct tape, and a switchblade.